Hi everybody, I'm really excited to do this video on bone broth today, and you are going to be shocked at what I have to tell you. Now you can make bone broth from any kind of bones. It can be fish, it could be cow, it can be chicken, it could be goat, whatever. And depending on what you use in it will give you, of course, a little bit different variety of nutrients. Some of the main nutrients are calcium and magnesium, phosphorus, silicon, sulfur, and lots of trace minerals. But more importantly, it has in it gelatin. And gelatin is kind of like one of those long lost foods that we don't really appreciate or know much about anymore. But it's very important. And no, I'm not talking about that fake gelatin you buy at the store in a little packet. This is not the same. I'll talk about gelatin in a little bit, but first we're going to talk about some of the main nutrients that you get from bone broth that are very important and most of us do not have enough of. And one of these is proline. Proline is not considered an essential amino acid, although it should be, because our body does make it, but it doesn't make enough, especially if we do not have very healthy bodies, which most of us do not. Why do you want proline? Well, this is in charge of connective tissues, cartilage, and you want to have a youthful, healthy, beautiful skin, you need proline. You want to be disease-free and have your joints not be stiff and achy, you need proline. Many of the connective tissue and cartilage disorders are because you don't have enough proline. And if our body was making enough as it's supposed to make it on its own, then we wouldn't have all these problems occurring. So obviously we need more than our body can make, and bone broth is an excellent source of proline. So it is really great to just include some bone broth in your diet to make sure that you get enough of this proline. Another very important amino acid that you will get in bone broth is glycine. Glycine is very important for so many parts of our body. It's really important for your blood. It helps with making the hemoglobin, and it is very important for lots of little functions, with DNA, RNA, creatinine, and bile salts. It also works in the process of our glucose, manufacturing the glucose in your body. Glycine also helps to detoxify your body, and your body needs lots of glycine to help with this process. Glycine is very important for digestion. It helps to break down the proteins. Many diseases and things that we get are from the protein in our bodies not being broken down properly. It can make asthma, diabetes, food allergies, osteoporosis, anemia, so many diseases. It's also very important in wound healing. It helps our wounds to heal up quicker. And the thing about glycine, it doesn't matter if you're a baby or a grown-up, you always need a lot of glycine. In fact, glycine is used in so many parts of our body and processes and functions. You need it constantly, a really good supply. And one of the greatest supplies is having a gelatin-rich bone broth. Now let's talk about gelatin. When you make bone broth, you have in it the bones, of course, of the animal, and it would include bone marrow, cartilage, and fats. All of these have an amazing amount of nutrition that we usually just give to the dog. So this is very important that we come back to bone broth and try and make this part of our daily routine. And we're going to talk about gelatin now because this is another reason that I hope you guys start using bone broth again. They used to do studies on gelatin way back before the 50s, and they can see that if people were very sick, they couldn't tolerate any kind of food, they would give them a gelatin and it would easily be digested and help them to recover. And there's been several studies showing, if you have extra gelatin, you add it to your diet, it will help you with any kind of your joint conditions, such as arthritis. And it also is very great for healing your gut if you have a leaky gut. So it helps to strengthen up those bones and joints on your gut inside. And of course, gelatin is excellent for your skin, and it's loaded with all kinds of amino acids. Another factor of the bone broth is collagen. And this is fantastic to help with your mood and detoxifying your body. Great for your skin, your liver, your heart, and it helps to improve your brain function and building your bones. Now for the shocking part I bet you didn't know about. Around the 1950s, they had started making products that would mimic these meat-like flavors. Before that, we used bone broth constantly, and people would have some kind of stock available all the time because you use it in your soups, you use it in your main dishes. You mix it with so many things, your beans, your rice, make everything just much more flavorful and delicious. And so everyone just always had some kind of bone broth available all the time. But by the 1950s, things started changing a bit, and they started trying to produce chemicals on fake flavorings that would be similar to bone broth. So they made like meat-like flavors. And after the World War II, many food companies discovered the MSG. MSG is very important if you think about it. It was invented by the Japanese in the 1900s, and it enhances food flavors, including the meat flavors. And we actually have receptors on our tongue for this glutamate. So when we use the MSG, our tongue would recognize it as maybe some kind of a meat. And this is very important because these food companies started using it then to help them produce similar products that were like a bone broth, but much easier. They're just a flavoring, a bouillon cube, instant chicken broth that you can just get in a little packet. And they started to make you feel that making bone broth was for poor people. So it was looked down upon. People stopped making it and started going to these pretend products. And yes, they did have the flavor, and they lacked all the nutrients that was in it. So not only did you lose all of the benefits that bone broth brought to you and your diet, you also started to introduce to your body something quite poisonous. But MSG is a dangerous chemical. It has been shown in so many studies. It produces obesity, blindness, neural brain failure, all kind of problems with your body. It's very dangerous. And that could be why we have so many diseases today, as we have abandoned our traditional food because they tell us that it's not good for you, or you're just a poor person to eat it, or it's not good enough. And it's really sad that we have been so easily changed to these synthetic foods that do nothing but poison and destroy our body, and we wonder why we're always this sick and look so terrible. This is why. Another thing to think about, if you do try and start making bone broth, never use the microwave. Never. You warm it up on the stove if you want to use it. Using the microwave changes the nutrients in them and makes it toxic for your body. And the microwave was actually invented as a weapon of war. And this was one of the reasons. So I don't know why that they make it as a commonplace for your kitchen. But this is not a kitchen tool. Do not use it for any of your food. It's quite dangerous, especially with bone broth. The whole point of making it will be destroyed and become actually toxic for you if you use your microwave to warm it up. You should not buy the store-bought bone broth because it's not the same. Many times they have it in pasteurized and aluminum lined containers, and they sit there for a very long time, and that aluminum seeps into the bone broth in the container, and you are consuming the aluminum then. It also is not as potent for your body, as you can tell when you open them. They're just like a soup. And if you make your own bone broth, you'll see it will become jelly-like, or it'll be very thick. It'll have a fat layer, a layer of fat, a layer of gelatin. It'll not be like a soup. It'll be very thick. So getting a good bone broth is not something you can find very well in a store. It's not hard to make bone broth. I have a recipe. I've done this. If you want to go and watch the video, I'll leave a link in the description box below and at the end of this video. Go and watch it. It's a basic recipe for making bone broth, and you can, of course, modify it in so many ways when you get good at making it. But please try it and don't skimp on it. Include it in your diet for you, your family, It's loaded with nutrients and your body will thank you for adding this nutrient-dense food to your diet. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and go watch my video here on how to make your own bone broth, and leave me a comment down below if you have any more thoughts on bone broth. I'd love to hear it.